Hello. This week it's something a little bit different. There's a familiar face on with me today. Welcome back, Matt. And Matt is the first person that is going to fall victim to a little bit of a format change, which I'll introduce now. It's a little bit of a game, and the game is, I'm going to call it, for lack of a better term, Blue Sky Whiteboarding, where I don't know, that's definitely not the best name I could have landed on, but straight from the off, that's what I'm going for, and I'm gonna stick with it till death. So Blue Sky Whiteboarding is a premise where I've introduced Matt to a scenario, or we've both selected a scenario 5 minutes before hitting record here, and that scenario is massively contrived, probably non-existent, and ultimately we're going to brainstorm together, bring our ideas together, and try and think of what we would do as advertisers in this massively contrived scenario. So hoping it'll be a lot of fun. And the scenario is, we have both been hired to run advertising for a charity that is anti-advertising and is looking to stop advertising in its tracks. Other than that, the parameters are pretty light. We'll probably chat about what we do with a few different budgets and different options, but you know what? Let's figure it out. That's part of the game as well. Is what is this anti-advertising charity as well, and in what world does it exist? So yeah, I mean, I'll hand it straight over to you, Matt. What was your immediate take on this when I sent it over? I sent over a list, and this was one that made both of us laugh.
Yeah, I immediately loved this concept. um, okay, so first things that popped into my head were clearly you can't actually brand any of your ads. Um, so so basically, whatever the name of this anti-advertising charity is, uh, which we should come up with a name through this conversation. But uh, so I immediately was thinking like, oh, okay, well, first of all, creative wise, it's going to have to be just like, the dumb like clouds or ice cream or clowns or I got stuck on C's. But then I realized like, wait a minute, you should just make it contextually relevant to whatever uh you know whatever you are around. So you're actually, drawing the attention without actually branding anything. And then something clicked in my head. The absolute best middle finger an anti advertising charity can have to the advertising industry is to advertise better than any of them. Um, and so I immediately started thinking the absolute best thing they can do is ensure that they are actually optimized towards human beings, focusing on those quote unquote premium ad spots, ensuring that low ad fraud, high viewability. So the only things left over are the bot traffic scraps of the barrel at the bottom for everyone else who's all of a sudden their conversion rates start dwindling. And I loved this concept so much that it could be someone who is ironically so against advertising that the best thing that they can do is be the best advertiser in the world. And I that is the concept that I absolutely love. Like the great, yeah, what is actually going to have an impact here? What are people actually going to be reading? None of these made for advertising sites, not even the like fringe ones that I find Google News sending me because I'm just an old person in disguise. And like, oh, bored panda, I am bored. Okay. Um, or even, things like Newsweek, not even good enough. That thing's got a billion ads all over it, but clearly I've gone there, so there is some human beings there. Uh, so how do you actually just plaster that thing with nonsense? Or CTV? Do you do those types of eyes that are usually like, now you get it ad free because this company is great, but instead it's just like, now you get it ad free because it ought to be. And that's it. Uh, In the meantime, they're also still collecting all the data on the back end and optimizing. Okay, maybe they actually do have a DCO ad server, so they can make sure whatever their nonsense creative is best to catch your eye as a aggregated individual. So you are constantly being distracted by the thing that is not advertising, and ultimately focused on PR and SEO to actually get the word out of who they are, because none of this is branded, and that work through organic, non-paid means drives donations.
Right. So you're running all of the premium placements.
All of
You're
them.
basically doing, well, I wouldn't say premium, but you're doing a Temu and pumping so much money into the industry that no one else
Yes.
gets the premium placements.
Yes. Yes. Because this first round had zero budget cap on it. So that's where I went.
So this is the bluest sky. We have the budget of the whole of China, and this is what we're running. I like
Mhm,
that,
mhm.
and the because I always see it with the when like programmatic, for example, you get the this is a test ad and it just shows a picture of a puppy or something like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of our ads on these premium placements are all just really cute puppies or something that goes, people, what on earth is this? And then they click through and then they're taken to our page that's like, don't worry, we just saved you from an ad. And we're going to
Yeah.
keep on saving you from ads.
Right. Or immediate as real time reporting as possible. It would be great if they actually scrape some of the auction place, or if it's not an auction, just like reported right to you. Hey, your click just cost us this much money. Wouldn't that have been better served? I don't know. Bettering products, fighting for social change, curing cancer. I don't. We were talking about AI before. Ensuring that when AI does take over, that we're at least treated with respect. Us humans
Yeah.
will be uh, inferior to AI.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep
Sure.
going on that train. Just if I could pepper that in a few more times.
And because
Right.
this ad is because this ad is we're not targeting anything, the AI models can't learn from it as well. I do, sorry, I like that where it's, yeah, I like that approach of actually labeling, yeah, how much we spent on this ad, and because I think that's something that people don't conceive of is actually how much like a click costs on any of these channels,
Mm.
or how many people actually convert from them. When if you labeled that for a lot of people, that is exactly as you say, uh, and this is money that people could be putting into bettering your product, then that would be that'd be a pretty devilish devilish blow.
I just want to call out that both of our careers rely on people advertising, so
Hmm.
we are playing a dangerous game here. But we're going to keep going.
We are.
Uh,
Um, yeah, I mean, so I went down one of my routes was actually really similar, where exactly as you labeled cost, labeling data that
mm,
people use, because obviously
yeah.
people are scared of losing their privacy. It's something that I'm pretty sure, well, like all channels, Meta, for example, certainly have rules against it. Google uh, have rules against it, but worse at generally policing it, I think, on channels like YouTube. But if you labeled the amount of data that you used in order to target an ad at someone, I think that would be a similar impact of, right, this is, we know that you are Stacy and live in Milwaukee. No, you couldn't get that granular.
Yeah,
But
that'd be
obviously, if you labeled it with like, yeah, your interest, your browser history, for example, has got you here. Therefore, you are in market for this, and we just saved you from a car ad because we know that you're in market for a car, for example.
yes. That oh wow. Now that's one that this charity would have to buy or build its own SSP, I guess, in order to actually tell you, by the way, we just saved you
Mm,
from ads about all of these things. That is pretty interesting though too. I'm really into this concept of
yeah.
an anti-advertising charity just becoming the dominant player in the advertising space.
Becoming
Um,
and exactly, well, all of these would be my only kind of qualm with this would be if we prove that we are the best advertiser and win through advertising, then it kind of proves our case of, oh, advertising works.
Well, whoa, oh, that's wait, okay, important distinction here. We do need to cover this, I think, tangentially. What is this anti-advertising charity actually about? Is it that advertising doesn't work, or is it that we shouldn't be spending this much on advertising?
Mm. So I think this anti-advertising, it's going to pick up on whatever hits people the hardest. You know, it's whatever gets the most donations into the charity's door.
I
And
like the concept that they also are pretty loose on what they like.
yeah,
Whatever. We're into whatever as long as it's not advertising.
and if and if it takes us advertising to get there, then we will. Which I think, to be fair, that's I don't know. I think that's something that they would have to test, and you'd have to leap on. You know, what are the things that are is going to turn people off? I think you. That's certainly what I do with all products. Is like, what is our strongest like value that we are going to drive for people? Is it protecting their privacy? Is it you know, are we trying to say that advertising doesn't work? Which, you know, as an advertiser, I think is a pretty hard sell for a charity when there's this vast amount of
Right.
evidence against it. Bad advertising doesn't work. Yes, we can all agree on
Point.
that. If you
Yes.
advertise badly, it won't work. Um, but yeah, I think it's. I think we would just. I think that would be our initial steps. Is, you know, which of these actually gets people the most? Which is it? Privacy? Is it, you know? Is it this concept of losing money to brands, for example, by
But how
spending
would you?
more?
So would you just be going off of site traffic? Because remember, we'll still have a lot of fraud out there. So would you just be going on site traffic, or would you actually then take another step deeper into the world of the advertising? Uh, I'll just stop of the world of the advertising. Would you actually go and establish an MMM to understand which of your anti-advertising advertisements drove the best donations, non-click through?
Yeah. So
Because
this
wait,
is.
because we are also just saying advertising. We didn't say digital advertising. Because I'm also
Mm,
envisioning a number of like buses wrapped in, just like for some reason all I'm thinking of now is just like frogs on lily pads. No explanation whatsoever. Just tons of things taking up actual ad space that do not advertise things.
mm. I'm thinking like police tape with ad removed across a bus.
Oh,
I'm thinking a
okay,
big
okay.
wrap with that. But yeah, I agree. I think, which is sad, but I think we're going to have to lean into becoming really good advertisers and build that MMM, figure out and actually set up pixel tracking and everything that we need to measure the impact of each of these creatives in
Yeah,
order to figure out which creative people resonate with most.
but you got to be
Yeah.
careful with that. And this is where I think maybe we start finding some of the limits. Some
Mm,
of the limits here is if you find the creative that seems to work more and more, and you start optimizing and doing more and more in that ilk, you are becoming dangerously close to building a brand. Now, very, very flimsy brand that's purely based on just some sort of imagery, but that is then some sort of brand association. And would that not? Well, I guess let me take a step back. I don't think I don't think we are finding the limit because they are not anti-marketing, they are anti-advertising.
mm.
So I reverse everything I was just saying for the last, I don't know, 90 seconds.
But what's the difference? I don't think people. I think people would spot the connection, but I think people would realize that we're using advertising to bring down advertising from the inside in this, and we would get questions on this, and I don't think anyone would really care. I
You,
think we'd just be like, yeah, we're using it. Enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Every publisher is just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. You're paying me. Every DSP, every ad tech platform, functionally, they are not bringing down advertising at all,
Yeah.
but they are raising a whole lot of awareness about how they want to bring down advertising.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really all there is to it.
And we only get, I don't think anyone would pick up on it. And it's against platform. It's not directly against platform rules to bring down advertising. As long as you're not
I can't
showing
think of
anything
any.
graphic within that or swearing, then
Yeah.
you can. I think we would get like I think we would get shadow banned from a few platforms of if we got big enough. Basically, if we succeeded well enough to catch their attention, then we might get limited in a lot of ways.
I think well, honestly, the ways that I would think that they could try to limit us is by saying, maybe algorithmically, oh yeah, the ad rank is low or intent is low. You're not following best practices, and then all I can think out is how, again, what if this hypothetical charity becomes really good at connecting the experience of just an image to just a random image to landing page experience that also has that imagery and all of their whole feel in an allegory to whatever that image is. And through the use of their media and media mix modeling and just various data points that they're collecting and pumping back into, and maybe they're even doing modeling and predictive audiences, and they're actually using AI to do all this in the way that advertisers really only dream about doing at this point. And they're able to actually put the images that resonate the best in front of the people, like they are the mythical one-to-one advertising. They're able to get as close as you possibly can on just a random image that speaks to you, and you're like, oh wow, what is that? And in that way, they are actually defeating the algorithm because they are they are actually creating some sort of omni-channel experience that would very much work to those users digitally. uh Real world, just not just fun bus wrappers or
Yeah.
other cool out of home things.
And where when Facebook or Google pull the plug on it, we can prove, oh, look at this bad thing that the advertisers are doing. Let's push tons of spend behind getting that in front of
Ooh.
people.
And then at some point, leadership changes in this charity, and they just become the new Google because they've gone out and bought all their own SSPs and DSPs.
That's very true. we actually picked our placements that work, and then we flip and we go, oh no, advertising is good, but only if you do good advertising. And we'll help you do that.
We'll help you do that. All of a sudden, the anti-advertising league is actually the world's foremost advertising agency.
And selling the advertising ourselves. It's a nice pivot. And we all of our media spend isn't media spend, it's still donations. It's not we don't have a cost column in our reporting, it's just donations, conversions, etc. So we can still pretend to be a charity. No, I kind of I like this way of, and my mind went to at the start. My mind of targeting people actually hit this, but then I kind of went like, is our best route into this audience? Is it hitting people, everyone, and convincing them of the bad bits of advertising, or do we limit our target to just advertisers, for example, and try and sell them on the fact that either don't advertise in these platforms or it's ineffective, or you could be getting this for cheaper, or anything like that. So this is maybe like a budget option if we don't have the budget of Temu to splurge and capture every single bit. but yeah, my thinking was you kind of go after the advertisers, and I don't know, maybe you could run a campaign of being like, we captured all of this organically, for example, we got X number of, we're consciously not going to run advertising, for example, here's all the impressions that we got for free by all of these kind of crazy PR stunts, for example, which I don't know, that's is that advertising to in you're still paying money, and I don't know. But yeah, that was
I
my
mean,
take was, do we go after the people or do we go after the advertisers? What's our best route to bring down this industry?
um, or do we just call our congressman and ask for regulation? And it's like we left out that entire side of it. This anti-advertising charity is not going the regulation route to shut things down. They're just trying to fight fire with fire. But you did bring up some uh, you brought up some philosophical points about, but what is an advertising dollar and when doth it apply? Um, I think the line being drawn there of like, yeah, the PR stunts, yeah, I mean, solidly marketing. Advertising, I feel like needs to like need an ad. You need to buy placement. You need to buy the inventory placement of it. If you're not, then I mean, very much marketing, but it's not explicitly advertising. And I feel like that's an actual definition that I just decided to sit here and try to recreate that wheel. Um,
Mm.
like I'm some sort of smarty pants that has just thought of this for the first time. And literally, I've gone to multiple schools to study marketing, and that I guarantee you had just like a very basic definition of advertising in a textbook that I'm sure that I owned at one point.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Didn't
that's a
open it.
quote from Aristotle, actually.
That entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. um. Okay. But yeah. So okay. So let's unpack a bit more of the. Unless actually we've been talking for an incredibly long amount of time, but I was going to say we could unpack more of the instead of going after the advertisers, or sorry, whichever the opposite is of what we just did, going after the advertisers or going after the advertised. Um, so go after the advertisers, yeah, and you're basically like just like transparently, here's how you do it without advertising, or here's how much it costs to do this, and just pulling back the curtain.
Which I think is a lot
Yeah,
less fun than running a big
yeah,
advertising campaign. And I kind of also it, which I think goes into, and actually weirdly we've come across quite a serious point somewhere in this, where I think that's a lot less guaranteed. Anything that's with, I think you would struggle to thread the needle there of, you have to set up stunts that are going to get attention and work and capture that organically. You're going to have to, your SEO is going to have to be pretty damn good in order to capture all of that activity without the benefit of any paid advertising, for example. And
I
even
mean, you could
even
still be
yeah.
filming it and capturing it and then getting it
Mm,
onto social, even if you're not putting paid behind it.
mm.
Give
And
it
you still
all the
need people
chances in
to
the
see it.
world. Yeah, exactly. Because you still need
Mm,
to put it in a position where you need to put it in a position where it can catch fire. Even though
mm,
you're not lighting the match by putting dollars behind it, you do need it ready to go, ready to
mm,
blow up, highly flammable content.
mm. Which is still, and it's still going to be very difficult to test. Which I agree. I think finding that point earlier about finding your USPs early, that's going to be very difficult to do without the ability to test paid and stuff.
That's
It's
a
very
good point.
difficult to
Yeah.
do organically. Pick up which of these was any other, when our difference is 100 impressions or whatever, early stage. We can't really tell which of these is capturing attention.
And I think what we just did was uncover the early stage version of the anti-advertising league, who tried to make a dent for many years, and just found that they really couldn't do it, and so they were injected with new leadership, which was uh, which is basically disillusioned advertising veterans. And they were like, well, we only know how to do one thing with our lives, but we can just focus it on taking down what we've done with our lives. And thus returns us to the beginning of our conversation when it was all giggles and fun about being silly about spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year to just plaster the internet and every human eyeball everywhere with totally random imagery. And then establishing all of the data connectivity and modeling and understanding of your actual user base to make that even more effective at not advertising.
We
Okay.
you've just done what I was going to do at the end, which is summarize the journey that we've gone on and what we ultimately figured out would work. I agree with you. I think the anti-advertising league, I think we've agreed on a name, the AAL.
Yeah.
I think that's why they've got us in at this stage, and why we got hired in the first place was because they tried to do this without advertising at the start. And I think they probably realize, and there are a lot of benefits. There are things that you can do. Each of them has their role. But I think it would be very difficult to get it up there without doing any kind of advertising whatsoever. Even whatever kind of PR strategy in the world that you have, you would still need, you would still benefit from having ads driving donations, for example, kind of regardless of the hypocrisy of all of that. So I think that's the realization that they came to themselves when they decided to hire us to run their advertising in the first place. And I think it's kind of something that we would have to we'd poke fun at ourselves in the process with paying to show people pictures of dogs and stuff. Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that we'd have to figure out our audience pretty quickly. Are we targeting those advertisers or are we targeting people? I think we'd have to figure out our USPs pretty quickly, which not even USPs. What's our key values that we're providing people and why are we helping them to donate? Like, what's the key value that we're driving to humanity? And I think I'd struggle to see that happen without running some kind of advertising. But and then at that point it comes into what you said. It's running good advertising and in the process hopefully driving up costs for everyone else and forcing Temu out of the business because we spent $1 billion on all of the visible spots.
And all they have left is to spend $1 billion, of which 80% of it is pure bot. As I say that could be what's happening right now. 80% of it is purely bots, but like
what's that? 80% of my traffic is going to bots and 20% isn't. I just don't know which 80%.
Yeah, right.
Nice. I think that's a good place to wrap up. I think we've only just scratched the surface of what we could do for the Anti-Advertising League.
Yes.
And if you are watching from the Anti-Advertising League, we take your scenario very seriously, and get in touch.
Yeah, we are available. We have more ideas for you. Okay.
I have so many notes from the 5 minutes at the start that I still haven't got through. But
yeah, I wrote an entire page of ideas in about 90 seconds, and then I stopped myself from trying to overthink it.
Yeah.
And I spent the next 3.5 minutes just waiting.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well, we got that. Right. Well, thank you very much for joining. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right.